Welcome to the basics of localization workflows. The Oxford English Dictionary defines workflow as a noun meaning the sequence of industrial, administrative, or other processes through which a piece of work passes from initiation to completion. You may recall that the basic localization workflow is divided broadly into 3 stages. The boundaries of these stages are roughly defined by the file format of the content you're working with. In stage 1, you work with the source content in native file format. In stage 2, you work with source and target content side by side in what's known as the by text file in standards by the International Organization for Standardization and the aligned text file in ASTM F2575-14. In stage 3, you work with the target content in native file format. Let's say the client submits an MS Word file in English for translation into Spanish. The native file format is .docx or .doc. During the process of defining specifications, stakeholder requirements are collected, such as the files for localization submitted by the client and the degree of localization needed given the audience of the content. During the quoting process, the English language.docx file is analyzed with an eye toward the target language the content will be translated into. Quotes for work done on the language and interface are produced based on that analysis. After a quote has been approved, that native.docx file is then converted during preparation into a by text or bilingual table file by the computer-assisted translation tool. The CAT tool separates the formatting elements of the native file, such as pages, headers, tables, and format painting like bold and italics, from the actual content. The content is also separated into units called segments, which are essentially sentence by sentence rows of the bilingual table. The CAT tool automatically places the source content in one column of the bilingual table. The CAT tool automatically generates another column in which the translation will be filled. You'll learn all about this in your CAT courses, of course. Translation, editing, and proofreading, known as TEP for short, are conducted within the by text file format stage. The translator fills the segments with the target translations. The translations are edited and proofread in the by text file. Finalized content is sent in 2 directions. Finalized content is sent for by text storage in the client-specific TM, or translation memory. This content will be recycled into all new submissions submitted by a client. Finalized target content is recombined with formatting by the CAT tool when the linguistic content is exported from the by text file into the target in native file format. The 3rd stage begins with formatting, also known as layout. The target content in native file format is adjusted to suit the target language. This layout is done in part to account for any language swell or reduction that has taken place. Romance languages tend to require around 30% more room than English to convey the same meaning, same as in air quotes there. For example, conversely, character languages are more lexically dense and convey the same meaning with less content. The formatting for these languages therefore needs to be adjusted to account for elements like this change in the volume of content. If page-for-page correspondence happens to be a concern of the client, for instance, target pagination may need to be adjusted to match the source. A native speaker reviews the layout of the content in the context of the target deliverables, a .docx file in this case, but in context could also mean a web page, an application, or a video, etc. Once the native speaker gives their approval, the target file in native file format, an MS Word file in Spanish in our example here, can be delivered to the client. The target content in native file format is the primary product we sell and produce in the localization industry. A major secondary product is the translation memory, since the client-specific TM houses already translated content for recycling into new projects. Relevant translation standards tend to divide localization workflows into pre-production, production, and post-production stages. See the flowchart from ISO 17100 translation workflow in Annex A of ISO 17100 for a good example workflow. Don't take the absence of post-production from the flowchart featured in this video as an indicator of the importance of those related processes. During post-production, very important administrative tasks take place to close projects, like invoicing, so we all get paid, and final margins calculations. Lessons learned and resources generated are also gathered at this stage for input into future projects. A fundamental objective of this postmortem is to identify inefficiencies, however small, so as to be able to slowly implement the small improvements that will eventually lead to fully optimized processes. That concludes the basics of localization workflows. See the workflows featured here in the further resources section at the end of this lesson.